Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. It's David here. Whatever day you're watching this, I want to talk to you today about some real gold nuggets about tax overages and how to get money in unclaimed funds, whatever market you're working. As coaching, I often refer clients to lists. Here's a list I accidentally came across. It's a small list, but it's a very valuable list. As we look at this list, it's interesting. The first one's a corporation, but these are the dates. You have one in 2020. Most of these are 2023, if not all the rest. You'll probably have 2024 following. These are people who have not claimed their funds. I would call the county that you find, and you're going to need to find a county. You're going to need to find the auction and find the unclaimed funds list. This one is in Florida. Then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to contact your individual. And the forms that I use are an assignment of interest, a contingency agreement, and a limited power of attorney. An assignment of interest will go ahead and assign the funds to your corporation. A contingency agreement will go ahead, and that's the agreement of percentages between you and your client. And then you have a limited power of attorney that will allow you to cash a check. And I go over other videos how to explain that. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, because I do cover that. Now, my very first deal I ever did was a deal that was very similar to this bottom one here, even a little bit smaller. My very first check, and I had mingled in overages before, but this was a tax overage check, and I don't know how well you could see that. It's for $1,500. This is back in a different address that I had, and it was $1,555 and 62, so $1,555.62. What I did is I contacted the gal. She had no idea that she had these unclaimed funds, and I went ahead and I got her paid. Did not know what I was doing. That's where I would do a number like this one, because if they say yes down here and you get 50% of that, that's $2,000. $2,000. If you make a mistake, I would rather lose 10,000 than, like, let's say you get this first claim up here for 17,000 and you're getting 30% or whatever percentage you agree with your clients. You get 30% of that, which I would do. So that's under 5,000, but close enough to it. Somewhere between 4,500 and 5,000 that you're getting. And you get paid, and then you get your client paid. So you take 70% of what these funds are, you pay your client directly. You have one here that's out of the country. And I found a guy, they're in, this one's for 20 grand, 19,830. They're in Venezuela. I would contact them and say, hey, I can get you a notary. You have to show me proof of all the information and get them paid. They're going to love it because they're out of the country, and they're probably going to love working with you. I found a guy one time on Facebook, and I contacted him. Josue Garcia, a lot of you've heard the story. He was in Brazil. Finding a Josue Garcia in Brazil was like finding a needle in a haystack, but I sent out mailers. I had also sent out direct messages, and I sent out the mailer just to what his last known address was. But in the direct messages on Facebook, I did half in English, I did half in Spanish. And there was like 5,000, not that many, but there were several. And I sent out 40 because Facebook cut me off on messages. The next morning I woke up and I was going to send another 40 out, again, English and then Spanish. One message, half English, half Spanish, giving over the whole detail. And I had a message in my inbox that said, very funny, I own this property free and clear. So I came back and I said, okay, great that you own this free and clear. When's the last time you paid taxes? And he said, I don't have to pay taxes. I own it free and clear. So I showed him the foreclosure and I said, I've got good news and I've got bad news for you. A lot of people don't even know that they have these funds. So if this person right here, if no one's reached out to them, maybe they have, I don't know, but it's for 20,000, you get 30% of that, that's $6,000. Say you spend an hour doing this. How many of you make $6,000 an hour doing this? And if you wonder how often this can be done, and these are just a few checks I'm looking here. Here's a check, a tax overage check. Here's one for 19,000. Here's a tax overage check for 14,000. Here's a tax overage check for 5,000. Here's a tax overage check for 11,000. And I could go through and I could show you check after check here. Me flashing checks here is not the purpose of the call. The purpose of this call is to tell you, you can start getting people paid and making a finder's fee and getting paid for this in the process. This is literally giving out money, giving people free money that they didn't know they had. Now, let me just share this, and then I'm going to shut up here, I promise. This is going to be the most valuable insight I give you on this list. I have probably 20 names here. Let me see. There's 25 names on this list. 25 names. If I contact all 25 of these names, could I get 2 to 4 closing within the next 3 to 4 weeks? I should be able to. Okay, let's go ahead and look at that. So I get 2 to 4 close, and let's say my average payout's $3,000. I have just made 3,000 times four is 12, so that'd be $12,000. Let's say I'm working on some of these higher leads, like the 17,000, 17,000, 25,000, 70,000, and again, that's a $21,000 payout if they agree to allow you to go with the 30%. Now, if they come back and say, "Hey, we only want you to be able to get 10%," 10% is better than nothing. However, I would negotiate that deal. What I'm saying here is there are $70 billion of unclaimed state funds and an estimated $50 billion of tax and mortgage overages. These lists are out there. You've got to find them. You've got to work them. You've got to call and take an aggressive 6-week marketing plan with this list. So it's Tuesday. Maybe at 8 o'clock in the morning, I call all these people on this list between 8 and 10. Then what I do is I go ahead and I try them again in the afternoon. Or maybe what I do is I take 10 of them and I spend an hour and I call 10 of them, just 10. Bam, I'm done. And then I call those same 10 later on that evening. I go and I jump in and try that same 10 that didn't pick up and try them again. And then I try them again 2 or 3 days later. Then I start getting creative with text messages and email. I continue marketing this list of 25 leads. And if you don't have anything within 6 weeks, I would be very surprised. The goal would be that in 6 weeks, like I said, you get 3 to 4 weeks, you should have 2 to 4. You should have a few more than that in 6 weeks. And then you're picking up new lists. You're marketing every week, you're marketing new lists. You're following up and you're following up consistently. You also want to be checking with the county and making sure that no claims have been put on the funds. Find out if they have an online portal. I've shown how to work online portals and other sites where you could jump in, you could look at the file number, you could see the date it was last active, and then you could decide the action you're going to take from there. And what I mean by that is, let's say that this first file here has a claim that's been denied, and you look at why did it get denied? Did they not have enough paperwork? Did the person claiming the funds? I've seen it where someone tries to claim the funds that are not qualified to claim the funds. It's interesting that these two are exactly the same amount because they are different addresses. It's just you don't see that. Actually, I take that back. One's 33 and one's 83. And one's 20. Okay, they're not. They're close to the same amount, but they're not quite. $17,724, $17,743, and I'm pulling this list up for the first time. And you get on the online portal or you talk to the court and you see that someone's put in a claim and you find out that they're the right person. Maybe they didn't put in the paperwork properly. Maybe they didn't have the right signatures. Boom, you go ahead and you get them paid, and then you get paid. Maybe they're in the process of making a claim, then you're not going to go ahead and obviously try to contact them. They're in the process, but you do want to watch it, make sure that claim gets through, and make sure that claim gets paid. I can't tell you how many times I've gone on the courts and I've seen where the city gets mixed up, or the zip code's off, or the address is off, and literally it's that simple. And you see that, and you go ahead and you jump in, you get the right address, you get the right city, you get paid, you get your client paid, and bam. And these are all a year old. Florida has a rule that I think it's 2 years, and after that they can get turned over to the state. And some counties keep them for 3 or 4 years. Like this one for 2020, I would find out what's going on. And if it's a deceased case and you want to work it, go ahead and find out what paperwork's needed. Was there a will or was there a trust? If there was, that's going to be a lot easier. If there's not, find out what the court has as protocols. When I call the courts, I ask them questions, but I don't say, "Hey, I'm a state funds locator." I don't lie, or "I'm a tax overage locator," whatever you call yourself. I don't lie about this and say that I'm not a third party or I pretend to be the claimant. I'll just call and say, "Hey, I'm calling about file 2020192, $17,743.83. We didn't realize this was here. What do we need to do to go ahead and collect on these? Are they still available? Can we look at this online?" Those are the types of questions you want to start asking the courts. And then you're going to get to know the courts as you start putting in claims, and they're going to get to know you, and you're going to build up a relationship with them. I have had cases where the courts are extremely rude. I talk a lot about one of the checks I got, and the lady wouldn't even tell me the check was in the mail. I finally got paid on it. I was going to send her a box of chocolates and just say, "Hey, I wish you the best." I didn't. I meant to. Be nice to court workers. They're extremely rude. Some of them are really nice. You're just going to get back and forth. But what you want to do is find out if you can access what's going on with the file online. Did the judge close it? Is it sitting there? Is a claim waiting to be put in the court? Like I said, start off small. When I called my first $1,500 claim on a tax overage in this state, and again, I don't want it to make it look like I just did my very first claim ever, but I hadn't done a tax overage deal in Florida. And this was back in 2020. I called the gal, and I'd worked other claims, other places, and I called the gal and I just said, "Hey, I want to go ahead and work this with you. Do you want to do it?" She had no idea she had these funds. Want to know what it would cost her? I said, "It'll cost you nothing up front, $1,500. We're going to get 50%. You'll get 50%." She was totally cool. I got her all the paperwork, and she was actually the claimant. It was a deceased case, and she was very happy to move forward with me and get paid. And then after that, I said, you know what, I could do that. And then I started working a 18, $19,000 cases. Then I started working $30,000 cases. Then I started getting higher paid, higher commissions, and I loved it. That's what you want to do in this business. You want to start off small. You want to work your way up. And I get emails sometimes, or my office will get emails, and they'll say, "Why does David want me to work a $1,500 claim when there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of claims out there?" I had a young man go through my program. He watched it. He worked my county to the T. I still have this text. And every once in a while, I'll keep in touch with the community. So I never say his name. I wouldn't do that anyway. He did not, the notary had the form stamped, but did not sign it. By the way, I just had that done to me the other day. And I'll talk about how I got through that. But the notary stamped it. Here's the thing: if it's stamped, the person's been verified, and that's what I was trying to tell him. However, he submitted in the claim work, had no idea what he was doing, didn't even tell me he had this deal. Watched one of my videos, went to my county, found a $30,000 claim, which I was more than happy that he did that. Put it in for 30%, 9,000. The county denied it. He ran it by me. He tried to get a hold of his client, and his client felt like he was too incompetent because he did not do the paperwork properly, and he lost a $9,000 commission. I would rather see you lose a $750 commission like I had on my first deal than lose a $9,000 commission. So start off small, get someone paid, realize how it is. You get the paperwork, you get the notary, you get everything scheduled. You realize how easy this is. Then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and then you up your pay. You start working the higher claims, and then you go through here like, if I'm doing several of these claims and I get like the $70,000 one, I have 21,000 coming, and I'm doing this 21,000. I have 4,500 coming, maybe 5 grand coming, and then I look and I just call this $2,000 one for almost $3,000. Is a $1,500 payout that bad? Not really. I mean, if you do one of those a week, that's, what is that, 6 grand a month? So that's 6,000 a month. I mean, it's not the best pay in the world, but it's not the world. I mean, that's 72,000 a year. That's more than what average Americans make if you did one of those a week. And trust me, there are tons of these out there. I'm just going off a list. I just found this by mistake, wanted to share this and talk to you about how easy this business is to work and how you can get claims going. You're going to research, you're going to go to the counties, you're going to pull the county lists, you're going to then do your homework, make sure the funds are still at the county. Then you're going to start your marketing with your client. What I'd recommend you do is cold calling for 6 weeks, twice on the first day, 2 to 3 times a week after that. I would email them, and I'd be very creative in the subject. So I give whole other YouTube videos on this, put in their name and their information in the email. I would also creatively text them and put in some creative text messaging. Know your local text laws before you do that. That's just what I'm going to tell you, and decide if you want to do that or not. I do it. I've never had a problem. Okay. I'm letting people say, what if they're on the DNC? What if they're on, I'm notifying someone that they have funds. I don't call up and say, "Hey, Mr. Smith, I want," or text. I don't text and say, "Hey, Mr. Smith, I want to get you paid at 123 Main Street. Are you aware you have money here? Go with R in Recovery, do this, do that." I don't do all that. What I do is just, "Hey, John, this is David. Are you aware that there were funds left over from 123 Main Street?" That's all I say. And then boom, I start a conversation with them. And not everyone replies back. And then we start a conversation back and forth. If he replies back, and at one point I'll say, "Hey, I would really like to inform you on this on the phone. Can I call you really fast?" And then we continue that dialogue. Sometimes they say, "No, you could text me." And I'll say, "Okay, here's what we do." And I've had people say, "Let's move forward just on text messaging." You got to decide what you want to do, and how you want to work it. You've got to know what to do if you call someone and they say, "Oh, that person's deceased." By the way, if they're deceased, I still try the phone number if they're deceased, because a lot of times I'll help the kids or the parents. Like a few weeks ago, I had a guy. It's really sad. He was a fairly young guy, and I knew he was deceased. And I tried the number, and his dad had kept his cell phone and was letting his friends know what had happened. And I've had kids do that with their parents, so it doesn't hurt to, and the dad's like, "Yeah, let's move forward. Go and send me over the contracts." It doesn't hurt to contact the number of the deceased, because you never know who's kept that phone, and who's answering it. I hope this helps. I hope you're getting started in this business. Here's an actual list of unclaimed funds. You're in a industry of over $100 billion. And my advice to you is to start pulling up some lists, start working it, get involved in the market, jump on one of our free trainings. We have them all the time. I have a free course. If you ever want to be part of that, just email us, help@surplusinstitute.com. Put free course. Actually, I'll put the link of it down below too, so that you have that as well. And I'll see you around. Hey, everyone, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor. If this was helpful, give me a like. Feel free to ask me any questions you may have. We'll see you guys around.